looking back on your career so far,
Yeah.
is there anything that you miss that you wish you could go back and do it again?
No,
Good.
not really, because I don't think that way.
Yeah.
You know, I'm just moving forward
Yeah.
and doing whatever happens. I think life is a great adventure.
Yeah.
You know, I read a lot of the the Indian gurus I mentioned a few
Yeah,
times
yes,
last
sir.
night. Starting with Yogananda, there's a book called Autobiography of a Yogi. I read that in the '60s when I was a musician, and we were taking a little bit of psychedelics, you know, and that opens up a whole new world.
Yeah.
My favorite quote is Jerry Garcia said the first time he took LSD, he thought, "Oh, I knew there was more going on than they were telling us." You know?
Yeah.
And that kind of introduces you to the fact that,
Yeah.
you know, this energy that we have all around us is, you know, we can understand more about it.
Yeah.
It's an amazing thing.
Yeah.
The energy that makes life and makes everything happen. You can tap into that. You can use that. You can understand that and work with that, you know. And it's kind of invisible. So you've got to spend the time reading and thinking and trying it out. Yeah. Well, you know, when I was a little boy, I wanted to be a zookeeper. Then I got a little older, and I thought, no, I want to be a forest ranger. And I was all set out of high school in New York. I was all set to go to University of Montana. I had my dorm room. I was going to be a forest ranger. And my parents, my father, who was in the State Department, who was my stepfather, got assigned to Germany. Now, I'd already lived in Tokyo 5 years, Bangkok, Thailand 2 years, and then we were back in the States, and I was going to go to Montana, but my mom said, well, come to Europe with us or go to Montana. It's up to you.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, I can always go back to Montana. So I went to Europe, and of course, the road not taken. You know, I've had a number of those in my life, you know, where you make a right turn instead of a left turn.
Yeah.
And this was one of them. I went to Europe and got very much involved. I went to college over there, American college in Munich, Germany. Got into music, folk music, choral singing, and also like Bach and Beethoven and Vivaldi, classical music. I studied that in college, music appreciation courses, you know.
Yeah.
And totally got into all of that. It's funny then, but just to tell you what happened, all the kids I went to school with were Army brats. It was an American college in Munich.
Yeah.
And all the guys were studying for the service academies, you know, Annapolis, West Point. And I thought, gee, I'd like to go to Annapolis. And I was reading a book about it, and it said sons of deceased veterans can automatically take the exam. You don't need a congressional appointment. So I said, well, my dad died in World War II. And then my friend said, well, write a letter. We're going to Heidelberg in a few months to take the test. We're going to drink some beer and have a good time. I thought, yeah, what the hell? I wrote the letter, not thinking much about it.
Yeah.
You know, they said report to Heidelberg, take the exams. And so I took the exams. I couldn't pass the Navy exam for eyes because I wear glasses.
Mm-hmm.
They said, we can't have officers on the bridge with the salt spray and getting in your glasses, right? So, but I did get accepted to West Point.
Wow.
And I thought, I remember waking up in the morning, someone knocked on the door, telegram, congratulations, you've been accepted, U.S. Military Academy, West Point. I said, oh, hell no, I'm not going to go there, you know. Besides, I'm going to spend the summer hitchhiking up to Sweden with my friend, you know.
Wow.
And we had a whole plan. And then the dean of the university and all these people said, congratulations, my boy, what a rare opportunity, you know. And I thought, well, shoot, you know, it's free, it's an adventure, why not go try it out?
Yeah.
So I spent a year as a plebe at West Point,
Really?
that whole thing, the long gray line. My God, I learned so much there. Whipped me into physical shape, you know.
Is that the last time you had short hair?
Yeah, I had short hair. I really loved it. I loved
Yeah.
the military part, and I'm a Virgo, so I'm very organized. You know, I could fold my underwear perfectly, and you know, I did well there, except for the one fact that it's an engineering school, and you study math 5 days, 6 days a week, and I couldn't care less about math. You know, I'd already been to college 2 years, played the banjo a little bit, but the whole time I was in West Point, I belonged to the Columbia Record Club, and I get these Pete Seeger and Bob Gibson and Peggy Seeger albums, and hear this banjo, and I thought, God, I want to play the banjo. I want to be out with people, you know.
Yeah.
In fact, in Munich, I was starting to major in psychology because I was interested in people. So I thought, well, the military thing is great to try it out. I think it was my inoculation, you know what I mean? In the military for this lifetime.
Oh, yeah.
I think we've all lived many lifetimes. We've all been in the military. We've all been killed in battle many times.
Oh, I get killed all the time.
Yeah, yeah. So that was my little taste of the military for this lifetime.
Yeah.
I'm glad I went, and I'm glad I left.
Yeah.
So that was another road not taken, or I would have become a general, you know. And
What about the music? You could have become a general.
Yeah.
You could have become a folk hero, folk musician.
I could have become a
rock star.
psychologist. I could have become a forest ranger.
So I would guess to say that you're pretty damn happy with what you've done so far.
I am. But
You
you know,
should
it's
be.
all kind of it just kind of come. And I mean, it's not planned. Like this story is
Yeah.
saying that you can't really plan this stuff, but you
Yeah.
got to be ready to just to kind of move with the flow, I think. You know, all of these things happened automatically to me.
Well, yeah, because you were there, right? On Laurel Canyon, and all your neighbors were blasting
Exactly.
it up.
Well, so here's what happened. When I left West Point, I bought a banjo, and I had to go back to college, I thought. So, and one of the guys in my company, his parents lived in Hawaii. And I thought, well, yeah, University of Hawaii. That's kind of like being in Europe. It's being out of the country. You know, it's kind of like an
Away.
adventure. And I went, and his parents, you know, picked me up at the airport, and they put me up for a few nights till I got settled. And then I continued studying psychology at University of Hawaii, and clubs and TV shows. And then we did a single with Phil Spector.
There you go.
We did a single with him. He was looking for a folk rock group, you know,
Yeah.
and so we did this single, but he wasn't sure it would be number one, and so he was so paranoid he wouldn't put it out.
Has he always been that?
Yeah, well, he was at that point.
Yeah,
He was
yeah.
very paranoid. If anything he put out had to go to number one, or else, you know, his reputation would be ruined. We were a bit of an experiment, but it finally came out on an album in England called Rare Masters, and now it's on his box set.
Really?
We sing a song called "This Could Be the Night" by Harry Nilsson,
Oh, wow.
with the Wallace sound and all.
Yeah, the Wallace sound.
Yeah.
Filmmaker.
So, and you heard the story last night that on our last tour across the country, we just stopped in a secondhand store because we were a little high. And well, you know, always you're traveling for hours and hours. We had a motorhome.
Yeah.
You know, and you can sit there kind of bored. It's kind of tedious.
Or do something.
Yeah, or have a little smoke. And my God, you know, we had a coloring books, you know, and you know, and so many things to do. I would take notes, you know. My friends would be talking, and I'd write down the things they said. And we had wasted a while of the time away, but we stopped in this East Lansing, Michigan. We just played a concert there. Next morning, we stopped at a little secondhand store. You know, we just drove by and said, "Oh, look, you know, let's go in there."
Yeah.
And then, as I said, there was a table full of used cameras, and I just was following a couple of the other guys. One guy, Cyrus Faryar was his name. It was his coffee house in Hawaii, and so Cyrus was in the group, kind of the.
Yeah.
We didn't really have a leader, but he was the kind of the older brother of the
Yeah.
group, you know. He said, "Oh, a camera! I'm gonna have one of those." And I said, "What the hell?" You know, without thinking about it.
How much was it?
Oh, I don't know, $40.
What
or something.
was it?
It was called a Pony.
A pony.
A Pony. I always thought it was a Japanese camera.
Yeah.
And then somebody said, no, Kodak had a
Really?
camera called a Pony, but I don't even remember.
Yeah.
It was a funny little thing, you know, that the back came off and you put the film
Oh,
in.
yeah.
And then, I don't know if I said last night, but I usually tell the story that Cyrus then said, let's pull into the next drugstore and I'll buy film. And he came out and handed everybody a yellow box, right? I put the film in. I said, okay, well, what about these numbers on the camera? How do you set this, you know? He said, well, look on the box. It says sunlight, 250 at 8.
Yeah.
I said, oh, okay. Oh, there's 250. There's 8.
Yeah.
We'll go out in the sunlight and shoot. So we did that for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
Got the film developed when we got home to L.A., and to my surprise, it was slide film. I had no idea what it was going to be. I didn't know anything about photography, except that it was fun to look through that little hole and sort of compose a picture. And framing was the whole thing.
Yeah.
You know, catch your friend doing something or and framing came natural to me. Try to make it look good, look interesting.
Yeah.
And the thing about slides is you don't develop them. Kodak does that. You don't print them really. It's color. You don't crop them because it's a slide. You put it in a projector and show it, right?
Yeah.
So I said, well, let's just get a projector, and we got all our friends together, and partly it was they were all kind of good friends and hippie friends, and they were interested in this stuff, and we had probably had a little toke of God's herb, and of course that makes the colors brighter and makes it more exciting. But I was so amazed when I saw these images projected on the wall,
like the poppy up at Neil's Ranch.
Yeah, the poppies like that.
Yeah.
So I would spend the week. As soon as I saw those pictures that first night, everyone loved it, and we all loved it. There were these famous moments that we'd had on the road, and there they were. That we could all talk about it and laugh about it. And so right then and there, I decided I was going to take more slides for more slideshows. I never thought, well, I'll be a photographer. I didn't even think in those terms. It was more like, I got to get more of these little magic things to project, So I'd spend the week looking for interesting things, whether it was, cats asleep on the sidewalk in the early morning in Laurel Canyon, old junk cars, and of course my friends. I would try to, capture them when they weren't looking, so that I could surprise them on the weekend. All the people would be in the room, and I'd have photos of all of them, and they'd go, "Oh shit! I didn't even know you took that. I didn't, So I loved doing that, and that's what kind of taught me to document in a sort of a quiet way. And
what would you tell? Because everything now is on an iPhone or whatever; it's digital. What would you tell the future Henry kid out there thinking about a kid who would know what was going on, and a kid who had a vision like you ended up?
Well, I do tell people, all along now for the last bunch of years, kids will come up and say, "I want to do what you do." I want to be a music photographer. I want to be or a photographer. What should I do? And I tell them, first of all, I say photograph. It's like anything. If you want to play the guitar, then play the guitar all day long. If you want to be a photographer, take pictures all day long. I always say photograph your friends, because that's what worked for me. You photograph your friends, and now it's easy, and you hunt for moments.
But your friends, Henry, were people
but
Joni and
they were, but not entirely. I had a lot of friends that weren't really musicians. They were, and so pretty girls. Just anybody, people I knew, and then even people I didn't. I was so used to photographing all the people around me. That when I became, sort of started doing that for a living, it was the same thing. It was real easy,
Now, there must be an archive full of your work.
There is, and 10, 15 years ago, in the 90s, people would say, you must have quite an archive. And I would think, what? That word sounds a little too professional.
It's a stuffed up room somewhere.
Yeah. I got some boxes full of shit over there and over there, but, And so I got it all organized and alphabetized and sorted out. And now I have an inadvertent living occupation, kind of, licensing these old pictures. Now that's something I never asked for. I just wanted to take pictures. Now I've got this whole history, and people want it all the time.
Absolutely.
They want it for books, magazines, videos, CD covers, best of covers, all of that stuff. And so, I used to get a call a week, and then it would be a call every day, and now I'm getting calls and emails and stuff constantly. Several times a day. A Mojo magazine in England, or Rolling Stone, or Rhino Records, or a Japanese magazine, Japanese video. There's a Japanese program over there that they spotlight one song once a week, and they do a whole background of this song. And they picked a few songs where I've photographed the covers. So I've been interviewed 3 or 4 times already by a big Japanese film crew. To talk about, do you believe in magic, or it never rains in Southern California, or what a Desperado, and then they use the pictures. So, but the thing is, people ask, well, did you realize you would have this one day? And I said, never once thought, gee, if I keep on doing this, I'm going to have a whole collection of photos. I never had that thought at all, because it was just, for me, it's the fun is taking them. You know, it wasn't that I was thinking of compiling them or anything. It just, every day you get up and wow, you know, what's going to happen today? Who are you going to see? What recording session you're going to go to? Who are you going to, you know, what, and just let it happen. Just follow your nose. And of course, yeah, I did live in Laurel Canyon, and a lot of my friends did become famous.
Yeah.
And I was a musician, so I was right in the middle. That was my world, you know. I mean, I'd go photograph the Monkees and, you know, pick up a tambourine and play. I photographed the Lemon Spoonful and played clarinet on, you know, one of their albums.
Yeah.
I took Bob Lind's pictures and played banjo on, you know, Elusive Butterfly. Same with America. I played banjo on Don't Cross the River.
That's how I learned how to play guitar, through their music.
Is that right? Yeah.
I loved America.
Well, they're great friends of mine.
Yeah.
Real good friends of mine. Yesterday, driving down here from Dallas to Austin, I was FaceTiming Jerry Beckley. We were talking back, and he was talking to Patty Boyd and me.
Oh, that's cool.
It was really fun. And like I said, all along, I've been reading these books by Indian gurus.
Yeah.
Because they seem to, you know, back when I read Yogananda's book called Autobiography of a Yogi, it just opened up a whole world, you know. He talked about the spiritual side that he was into, just as a young boy.
Yeah.
He was looking for his guru, and he met all these, you know, wise men, and you get all that, and you think, gee, there is a sort of there's something else going on if you want to plug into it.
Yeah.
And so all along I've read that, and it kind of opened up a whole part of my life, you know. And then I mentioned in the slideshow last night John Stewart from the Kingston Trio. His guru was Swami Satchidananda. So now I have a book of daily sayings by him. They took them from all of his speeches. So there's the date, you know, for today, and you read it, and it just sets your mind in a good place.
A good channel.
I mean, he'll say things like, he'll say, well, you know, we're all down here to learn. This is like a big university, so we're all students. But you should think of yourself as the only student, and everybody else is your teacher. Now, when you leave the house in the morning with that thought in mind, the day becomes a little bit more interesting, you know, because no matter what happens, no matter what anybody says to you, you're learning from it. You're saying, okay, you know, and so that combined with you know, New Age gurus that I read. There's a lady named Carolyn Mace, spelled M-Y-S-S, and she talks about energy, how you use the energy chakras and all that. And she says, along the line of people being your teacher, you know, she says, if anybody, she said, we get 100% of energy every day, and how are you going to use that? Some people spend 40% of that on an old hatred, an old wound, you know, well, my uncle or my dad, you know, or whatever, somebody, and you carry that around with you because you're so pissed about it, and you carry it around, and you use your energy dragging this baggage with you. She says the best thing to do is forgive anybody that you have any kind of a grudge or bad feeling about, and just say, you know what, the guy was just an asshole, you know? It's like, don't carry that around with you, right?
Yeah.
And she says if there's anyone who particularly you have this bad feeling about, she says picture their face right in front of you, look them in the eye and say, you're my teacher. And when you actually go through that, this great weight drops from you. You feel so relieved, and you think, of course they're my teacher, because they're making me respond. They're pushing my buttons. They're making me learn. You know, if you just sat around all day and, you know, and did nothing, you wouldn't be learning anything, right? Well, here's the thing. And so I said last night, you know, the old, you know, the gurus, wise things say, you know, this is the hard part. We come down here to learn. You go to the other side, you know. You should be looking forward to that, because it's really cool. You know, that's the main part where it happens. This is a little bit difficult down here.
That is true.
So for the past 10 years, as friends have passed away, and I don't say they died. I say they left their bodies. You know, they left their bodies, because your soul certainly doesn't die. It's just this robot that your soul is in for this lifetime. You know, breaks down and doesn't work anymore. So you've got to leave. You know, and go to the other side. So So I got in the habit of among my friends. It's funny. They'll say, "Oh, so and so passed away," I'll say, "Good for him. He made it." He made it to the other side.
Yeah.
And I've done that so many times, and it's real to me. And so when people pass away, I think, well, good. That's great.
Yeah.
They got out of here. Now they're learning even more, and they're on their way.
Yeah.
And they're light bodies. But when Glenn passed away, I got a text from Jerry Beckley. It said, "R.I.P. Glenn Fry." I said, "What?" He said, "Yep." And that was the way I learned. And that hit me pretty hard, too, because you could say good for him. He made it over there. But what
hard.
about us?
It's hard.
We don't
Yeah,
have the Eagles anymore. Except that we do have the Eagles, because we have all of those records, all of that music. I mean, bless his
Yeah.
heart, He came here and wrote those songs and pretty much got that group together. And we have him to thank for a whole, because music is a huge part of our lives.
It's the soundtrack.
It's a soundtrack to our lives.
Absolutely.
And suddenly the Eagles just, wow, you start thinking about it. It's
Yeah.
like, wow, they are a huge part, of many of our
Yeah,
lives, and Glenn especially. And so I did miss him. It
Yeah.
was a little harder to
Yeah.
say good for him.
Yeah.
It's always good for the person that leaves. It's bad for the people that have to stay and don't have that anymore. But
Have you thought of what you want to be remembered for, and what do you want on your tombstone?
no,
Huh?
no,
Good for you.
I never. Good for you.
Yeah,
good for
you.
him. He made it.
Yeah.
Maybe that's
Yeah.
it. Maybe that's it. I don't even think about that stuff. It's just
Well, tell
like
you-
I said. Life is a play. A lot of these guys say, it's a play, and I think of it like it's like a Shakespearean play, and
Yeah.
each one of us is the star of our own play. And we have heroes, we have villains, we
Yeah.
have lovely maidens, we have all of these things happen, and sometimes it's tragic, and sometimes it's funny,
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you appreciate it that way, that it's a play, it's also an adventure, And there's bit players, people come out of the wings for a little while
Yeah.
and go back, and that plus you're the only student. That sets me in a place that's very
Played
interesting.
an enormous role in capturing all these golden
Well.
moments. It's amazing work.
To me, I think it's a giant accident. But are there even any accidents? I don't think so.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
it's all kind of, figured out beforehand, maybe by us before we
Yeah.
come down here, maybe by, archangels. Who knows
Yeah, yeah.
why, you're led in different directions.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I've been, kind of led or kind of followed along
Yeah.
and let things develop as they did. And, at one time I said, yeah, it would have been clever of me to be a musician in Laurel Canyon in the middle 60s and say, boy, I can feel there's a new kind of a music humming out, and I think it'd be a good idea if I got a camera and documented this as it happened,
yeah.
But that never happened,
No.
I was just smoking a little grass and having fun taking images,
Yeah.
To me, it's a way of looking at the world, to look through that little hole. Of course, nowadays with digital,
Yeah.
I have a little pocket camera. You don't even look through the hole.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
just, you see the picture on the back,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And that's fun too, because you frame it. It's all about framing. It's all about what, I love to photograph. There's about 50 categories that I photograph, aside from all the music and people. And it came from my hippie slideshows. I would photograph my friends, and I get about 3 shots of friends of mine reading. So I put those together, a reading series. And then I'd get, sleeping. Cyrus was always taking a nap, falling asleep, So I'd have a sleeping series, and then eating, I remember going to Disneyland, a friend of mine with that big hot dog, about to take a bite, eating series. And then on the road with the Spoonful, Love and Spoonful, my first on-the-road job, every little town in the Midwest that we went to had a different color fire hydrant. And I just, being a little high, I just noticed that.
yeah.
Wow, they're green here,
Yeah.
I mean, you think of red as a fire hydrant. There's not that many red ones.
Yeah,
Really. In
yeah.
L.A., they're all yellow.
Yeah.
In New York, they're black and silver. San Francisco, they're white with a light blue top. Very pretty. And so every little town we go to, I would run out to the corner and take a little portrait of the fire hydrant. when I got back home to L.A., when we had the next slideshow, I had the fire hydrant series,
Wow.
20 different colors,
Yeah,
one, two, three. And my stone hippie friends loved that kind of thing, and then what else did I started, T-shirts, graffiti, tattoos, people giving the peace sign, people giving the finger, many of whom are David Crosby. But I mean, I have, literally probably hundreds of all the American flags, Mickey Mouses. I once saw a Mickey Mouse on a soccer ball. Then I'd see another Mickey Mouse. It was someone had a bumper sticker that said, "Hey, Iran." Mickey Mouse giving the finger. So you get 3 or 4 Mickey Mouses. Now you got a series, right?
Yeah.
So anytime I see a Mickey Mouse, not just on a T-shirt or a poster, but in a funny, it's got to be a funny situation, And then, gosh, what else? I mean, barns, trucks, flowers, children, nudes, animals, people with animals, and then the piece de resistance in my slideshows, because a lot of my friends, I mean, I'd show 8 rollers, we'd be 3 hours, and they'd say more. More.
Yeah.
So I started taking numbers, 1 to 100. And so I'd have 100, 1 to 100. And that was, I tried to hide it somewhere. I mean, it wasn't just a big number.
Yeah.
It was a picture with a number somewhere in it.
Yeah.
You say, I don't see the, I see it.
Where's
There's
Waldo?
4. That's where's Waldo? And so all my life I keep doing that because, I mean, I have, for a while, I carried a little piece of paper in my wallet that said I needed 78, and I definitely needed 94 and 97. I didn't have those. Now I've got 20 of every number.
Wow.
But I can still improve on that.
Yeah.
I can find a better 43,
Yeah.
And then that becomes, so every time I would show that, I would have new numbers.
That's funny.
And then the same with letters, ABC. That's not quite as much fun, but I'll do that,
Yeah.
And so now, 50 years later, exactly 50 years, 1966, March of 66,
Wow.
picked up the camera.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah.
I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
I'm so glad
So
you
now,
did.
it becomes museum shows, galleries, and books, because this whole collection. So I want to make little books of all these series.
I think
And
you
I've started
should.
doing it already. In L.A. in the 60s, there were plenty of old cars, great old classic cars, and just parked in the street. And I always stop my car, get out, go back, photograph that damn car. Cadillacs with big fins, and I loved all those different cars. And so I have hundreds of old cars. So I know if I went to Cuba, I'd get another 100, These days, I carry a little Canon PowerShot in my pocket. And so this little thing, I used to carry 40 pounds of cameras because 2 bodies, black and white and color, 5 lenses, a flash, spot meter, film, batteries. That whole thing weighed about 40 pounds, on your shoulder wherever you went.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I carry this little thing about the size of a pack of cigarettes.
Wow. Yeah.
Put a chip in there. You can shoot 2,000 or 3,000 pictures.
Wow.
You don't have to pay for the film and processing.
Yeah.
You don't have to run out and get all that done and drive back and forth. Plus, it shoots video with sound. Now, back in the 60s, I had a Super 8 movie kit.
What Canon is that?
That's Canon 710. And this,
Check into that.
this
Wow, check
lens,
that out.
Well, they come out with a new model every year. They get better and better.
Yeah.
This, when I zoom all the way in, I mean, I can take a picture of that plant on that table and fill the frame with it. This is a 300 millimeter lens.
Holy smokes.
On a big camera, it would be like a foot long. So I take 100 pictures a day with
that's
this
great.
little camera. And I mean, it's like I think of it as almost like a visual dictaphone, know?
Oh, yeah.
If I see a book I want to read, I don't have to pull a paper and pencil out of my pocket to write the name down. I just take a picture of it. If I see a poster of something, I want to take a picture of it. And then all those things that I look for, Mickey Mouses and graffiti and T-shirts. Every time I see a great T-shirt on somebody, I must have, 1,200 slides of T-shirts.
Wow.
Because every time I see a good one, I always say, "Oh, what a great T-shirt! Do you mind if I take a picture?" And they always say, "Sure." No one's ever said no.
Get away.
Yeah, nobody has ever said no. Tattoos, the same thing. I say, "Wow, that's a great tattoo. Mind if I?" Sure,
Yeah.
So, and now there's new series that I look for. One of them is ladies texting. Because some years ago, when it was starting, you
Yeah.
would see ladies sitting there, and the light from the thing would shine in their
dimming
face,
light, yeah.
especially if it was a dim place,
Yeah.
and their face would be lit up while they hold this, and I think, wow, that's interesting. So as soon as I took 4 or 5 or 6 of those,
Yeah.
now I got a series.
Yeah.
Now every time I see it, I gotta take it.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, I'm in this Radisson hotel yesterday. I was up in my room looking down at the pool. There's a lady there in a bikini lying on her tummy texting. Great. There's a texting shot. So and then the other thing is fingernail polish.
Yeah.
I took a picture of a friend of mine putting fingernail polish on. It was
Yeah.
really beautiful, and she had by the pool. She had bare legs,
Yeah.
and with this putting this, and then I saw someone with blue fingernails. I took those. Now green, black, whatever.
Yeah.
But once again, it's got to be in context of something. They got to be doing something or holding something.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember like a waitress would be standing there with their pad of paper writing down with these gorgeous colored fingernails, and
yeah.
I'll just take this out and zoom in. I'm a collector in that way. I'd say it's not quite the same with the music stuff. That was
Yeah.
more hanging out with friends and I mean, I love music. I'm a musician. I mean, it's so these people are heroes to
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
I'm more that than I am
Yeah.
a photographer. I'm there because I love music. I'm
Yeah.
there because I
Yeah.
love people. I'm there because I'm there,
Well, I'm
and then
glad
I
you
take a
were there.
picture.
I'm glad you were there.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I don't really walk in as a photographer.
Yeah.
And so and I love it that people enjoy my slideshows
Yeah.
and say, wow, you're this and you're that.
What do you got? About six dates left?
There was 13 in all.
Oh yeah. It's a good tour.
Yeah, we got San Antonio 4 and 6
Yeah.
exactly 4 in.
It's a great tour.
Yeah. We did it last year. We did 5 cities. So this year we're doing 13, and we're already talking about next year.
That's great.
So yeah,
Maybe we'll see some Henry Diltz photos from Cuba.
maybe so. Yeah, maybe.
I love it.
I mean, the only thing that's different is that in my slideshows, I really loved showing those series. Remember how my slideshow started with the guy on the beach, little
Yeah.
hairy guy,
Oh,
and
yeah.
the dog,
Where's
and
Waldo?
the car, and the flowers,
Yeah.
and the cow, and Well, I like those kind of slideshows. It's where it's not
Yeah.
necessarily rock and roll heroes.
Yeah.
But just odd and funny things in some kind of an order.
Yeah.
Also, I'm a Virgo, and the Virgo kind of analyzes and sorts and edits and makes lists. I'm kind of compartmentalized
works out for you.
in my thinking. Yeah,
It works out real well.
it does. And so all my life, various people that I've known have become examples of astrological signs. Like David Crosby's a Leo. He's like the young prince. I know how he is, so that's Leo. David Cassidy was an Aries. And he said, you know what it's like to be an Aries? Well, if I see a brick wall in front of me, I put my head down and go for it,
Yeah.
And so, various people that I know what signs they
The
are.
definition.
And it's part of that, wanting to study psychology, wanting to hang out with people. Everyone's your teacher. To me, the fascinating thing is all the people, I mean, if there weren't any people, it'd be pretty lonely,
Yeah.
right? So lately, that's what really fascinates me, all the different people. I told you the Jon Stewart quote that he said, God made us all different and hoped we'd share.
I thought that was remarkable.
That's a beautiful
Yeah.
thing. And if you just can, it's a matter of remembering all those things, Like you can remember them a couple times a day, but then if you can remember them all the time,
Yeah.
then wow, then you kind of, you maybe I don't know, what reaching nirvana is or becoming self-realized, Jon Stewart's a guru, Swami Satchidananda was driving him to a talk one day, and he had his son Luke, 9 years old, in the front seat. He turned around and he said, Swamiji, they say you are self-realized. What did you realize? Right? Great question. And he said, well, I realized my true nature.
Yeah.
And he said a few words about it, but that's the answer. What is our true nature,
Yeah.
But that's what I am seeking. That's what I feel like a student, I feel like I'm learning from everything.
Because you teach us everything.
Well.
Seriously.
We're all
Seeing
teachers.
life through the eyes of Henry Diltz has
Oh,
been amazing just to watch it over the decades. It's
Wow.
been fun.